again, everyone. This is CAZ BIELEN, and this is Casual Conversations, a place where we have some nice, short little conversations with people important to our world. Today, we have a very, very special guest who's going to help you with career counseling. His name is John Hadley. Hi, John. How are you?
Good to see you, Kaz.
Nice to see you. I saw you in a couple other places. We can talk about another time with some great other business organizations. But today, we're going to talk about career counseling. And it's interesting because people these days, you know, the economy, the situation that's going on with people on unemployment, and I'm sure they'll be going to get back into the market pretty soon, whether they want to or not. So let's take it back. And how did you get first involved with career counseling?
Well, I had been an actuary in the insurance world for many years, and I reached a point where the technical work wasn't as exciting to me anymore. And I looked around at, what is it I really want to do? And in the course of looking for that, I found that everything around self-marketing came naturally to me. How to network, how to build connections, how to interview. And I actually, while I was going through an executive outplacement program, I was coaching some of the other clients that they had, kind of informally. We'd go to dinner, I'd give them some advice. And so I realized this was something I could do. So I started this as a hobby on the side of my consulting practice. And finally, after 5 years, I said, this has been calling me. And so about 18 years ago now, I opened my career search counseling practice.
Well, yes. And I guess your theme, you always say, because times I met you and you give who you are, you say, I help job seekers who are frustrated with their search. And it's very frustrating for everyone, no matter where they are, what level, I believe, and so what is like some of the key things that you believe, so let's say you suddenly need to find a job, whether you were forced out or you transitioned or you decided. So what are the first things they should do?
Well, the first thing is you kind of have to get over what happened. A lot of people get stuck in they're angry or they're depressed or they just have this mental baggage for whatever reason they left the job. And so they have to get past that to be effective, because you need to be upbeat and positive and confident in every encounter you have with people. So that's probably the most important right from the start.
So I mean, let's say you have that feeling, and it's, some people take it really hard. Some people say, well, it's just something that happened. I can move on, find something else. And you go start looking for a job. But because you feel you're Mr. Important and you did all this stuff, you had to have all this experience and everybody's going to love me. And you go there and they say, well, that's nice. We'll call you. And
right. Yeah, well, there's this like roller coaster effect that, hey, I've got this interview, everything looks good, CAZ is going to hire me, I'm way up here, and then it doesn't go so well, and I go way down in the dumps.
Right.
And really, the only way to you can't eliminate it, but you can ameliorate it by basically filling your pipeline. You make sure you've got multiple things you are working on at all times, so that when this one goes off, it's like, okay, I really wanted that job, but I've got 3 other things going on later in the week, so it doesn't hurt as much and it helps you stay more positive. But that's, that's one of the keys. You've got to be so positive. I hear people all the time saying, oh, a job search, it's a full-time job. You need to be working 50, 60, 70 hours a week. You need to be doing all this stuff at night. And I say, yeah, not so much. If you can do that and stay upbeat and positive in every interaction you have, more power to you. I couldn't. You got to do what you need to refresh yourself, to stay positive. And if that means you need to take Wednesday afternoons off and you need to cut off at 4 every day so that you can refresh, that's more important, so that every meeting you have, you are in the right frame of mind.
Let's take a step back. I have a right frame of mind. I'm positive. I got over my, feeling sorry for myself for whatever reason, in my head, why I'm no longer there, let's say, because they decided they don't need you anymore, whoever they are. And so how do you get that first interview when you go out there? So you say, I'm taking a little step back, but these days there's many ways you can get interviews. So like, what are some of the best ways, or how do you start that process?
Well, there are a number of ways people go about it. I mean, there's all the job boards, and a lot of people set up lots of job search bots. But frankly, that's the worst way, because if you think about it, once a job is posted somewhere, who knows about it? Everyone.
Yeah.
And so everyone who has any possible qualification for that job is applying. So you are swimming upstream against all of these other people. The absolute, now there are other ways you can do it. You can go to recruiters, and but recruiters tend to want the round hole and the round peg. They're going to fit in it really well. They don't want to spend a lot of time. So they're going to make connections that are relatively easy. If you can make those yourself, you're going to be in a better bargaining position. So you use recruiters, but you use them selectively. There's direct mail, and I've had some good success with people with that. But it's how you do it, that you're not just writing, "Hey, CAZ, hire me." You're writing a marketing letter. But the most effective way is setting up all sorts of meetings with people in your industry, at the level who could hire you or who know people who could hire you, and just having really good conversations so that they know you and they're saying, John might be a good person when the right opening comes up here. Let's keep him in mind. Or, we have something here. Let's figure out if we can make this work. So that's really the best way, is by doing lots of networking, getting lots of eyes and ears out in the market who know not just what you want, but why you are great at it, what problems you solve, what results you can bring in that role. So they have your talking points, in effect, to sell you when you're not around.
John, do you find social media, like let's say LinkedIn, which basically created for people who are working and looking for jobs, and a way to reconnect with old fellow employees or managers, and more of a semi-personal, I guess, approach, make connections with them, not to say, "Hey, I'm the greatest," but to kind of start a conversation going and work your way in, because that's the success of social media. I can't go in and say I'm the best interviewer in the world to everybody. You got to say, "Have you seen an interview? I interviewed John. Oh, you know John." I think that's a nice way to do it also, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And in fact, it's rarely effective to say I'm the best of anything. If I get up in social media, I say I'm the best career search counselor in the world, people are going to be saying, "Yeah, right. I'll be the judge of that." So there's a way you have to do it, that you present results, you present the sorts of things, the value you might bring to the table, but you do it without beating people over the head with it. So LinkedIn is a great tool for research. It's a great tool for making connections. And if you're posting things, if you're commenting on things, you raise your social profile so that people want to know you. They start to see you as an influencer in the area that you are targeting. So that's really helpful.
I think influencer or an authority. You can create yourself as an authority in a certain medium, But again, go in and just talk about things Don't simply be a part of a conversation. So if someone mentions, you kind of say, "Yeah, I had a similar experience." It was like, I think that's a cool way, because it's just sort of like us talking here, but you become part of that, because early on, I think social media, people are just blasting, all these different things on there. This is what I do, what I'm great at, this, whatever. And people are like, "Well, okay, but like, what can you add to the conversation we're talking about?" The best way is to give some advice. I mean, do you get onto those sites and give some career advice to people, just going to be a part of a conversation? Does that help you?
Yeah, I'll put some advice out, or I'll comment on someone who's made some advice, or I'll share an article that I've seen. That is a really good way to be seen as someone who has some value to add in that discussion. But in the end, what you really have to do, that you use that to build your profile, to get some connections, to get noticed, but then you've got to set up one-on-ones. You can't just say, "Okay, I'm going to send out a lot of connection requests. I'm going to send out a lot of emails, and that's going to land me a job." I've got to say, "Oh, CAZ he's in an interesting area. He's connected with me. Let me call him and say, Kaz, I'd love to get to know you better. Could we sit down and have a one-on-one? Jim, hey, Kaz suggested I talk to you because you're someone who's a leader in this area. Would you have time to brainstorm with me on my search? I don't hide the fact that I'm in a search, but I don't make the meetings about help me find a job. I make the meetings about getting advice.
Right.
And that can be really powerful.
No, it is. You can contact John at jhacareers.com, but also you have other ways, John, that you give out information. A newsletter, perhaps you have, I understand, because I get it.
Yep, I've been putting out career tips for 17 years now, giving expert advice on marketing yourself, primarily job search oriented, although a lot of people find it very helpful for issues they're facing in their career, for how entrepreneurs, for how they build their business. So I have 9,500 subscribers there. So anyone who would like, just reach out or go to my website and you can sign up for career tips. I also do webinars from time to time. I've been doing a series on the path to career reinvention. Next one's coming up in a few weeks. A free webinar to help get to what are the secrets of making a transition. And the one you're showing on the screen right now is one that I've done many times. 5 secrets to getting a job you'll love. Getting through some of the keys to how do you make a really successful transition. And anyone who wants to have a 30-minute conversation about their search, I do a Kickstart Your Career Search session, complimentary, to kind of evaluate what's going on, look at the goals and the challenges, and see what you need to do to change things up and be successful in your search.
Yeah, and you help people's resumes, I guess, look over their resumes, because that's one of the things, you grade this resume, you send it out, and you don't hear anything back. Like any tips on getting the person to kind of, whoever's looking at it, or maybe sometimes it's a bot looking at it, even though, like, how do you, any advantage, secrets to that?
Well, there are 3 questions in my view. And I was a hiring manager for many years, so I look at this from that lens. And there are 3 questions you have to answer to get my attention with your resume. First, does it have a strong professional appearance? Because otherwise, I'm saying, well, this is the best you can do in your work product. What's your daily work going to look like if this looks like a mess? If you haven't taken the time and effort to make it look really good, or you don't know how to make it look really good, either way, that's a huge black mark. And this, it's got to pass the 10-second test, because you know that when you send a resume in ultimately to apply for a job, there's this stack of resumes people are going through. And
John, you just reached the 10-second mark. Oh, see, that's how fast it goes.
That's right.
Sorry for interrupting you, but that's, you're done with that.
Right.
So speaking of, it's got to look right. Our crack research staff here at Casual Conversations found this interesting photo of you, and you are actually a member of a Hall of Fame. So check this out. Look at this guy. Look at the hair on him.
Yeah, that was last year, before my hair started falling out.
You got a quick arm there. Look at that. The photo couldn't even capture your fingers in there.
Yeah. Yep, that was back in my ultimate Frisbee days.
So you were inducted into the Hall of Fame. There's a little writing there. If we can zoom in and see it. So congratulations on that. So how did that come about? You're like a pioneer in the ultimate Frisbee world.
Yeah, well, Ultimate Frisbee started at Columbia High School up in the Maplewood South Orange School District, and I joined the team just after it had gotten started, and then went out to form the first team at Stanford.
Wow,
that's why one of the books I have back here is a Frisbee book.
Oh, hold on. You got me all confused. I got all nervous. There he is. Show me the book.
Yeah, see, right there. And there's a little Frisbee from the 50th anniversary Ultimate Frisbee celebration a couple of years ago there.
That's awesome. That's awesome stuff. No, I got some of my own history with early television and cable as well, which is fascinating stuff with CNN and headline news and all that stuff. But that's for another story. So let's put this up here. Talk about some of the key takeaways.
Well, when I do that 5 secrets teleclass, what I say is I break it down into 5 areas. First, you got to know your target. You got to be pursuing something with passion. So you got to be able to express that really well. Then you got to know the value that you bring for that target. Why should I get excited about you for that role? Then you have to have an outstanding sales package. Your resume is really your sales brochure for this marketing and sales campaign, and it needs to really market you well. Then the core of it is networking to the hidden job market, because at least half of jobs never make it to a posting at all. So if you're focused on looking at all the jobs that are posted, you're missing out on at least half the job market. So you want to network to everyone you can, get them really seeing your target, your value, seeing why they should be excited about you. And then finally, you get to the interview, and it's not a Q&A session. Yes, you're going to be asked questions. Yes, you've got to give good answers. But a real interview is about a good, influential conversation where you dig deeply into the challenges that this hiring manager and company face.
Wow. Yeah, it seems kind of easy, but it's not, because there's a lot of people involved. The decision makers, yourself, the decisions you make. Even like, and I'm sure you have clients who wanted to go in one direction and then suddenly switch to another direction. So you help them kind of a roadmap for the next career step.
Oh yeah, I had a client once who very early on it became clear he didn't really want the job that he said he wanted. He really wanted to be independent. So we just shifted gears and applied all the same techniques that I use with my job seekers to define and build a successful consulting practice. His first year out, he made more than he had as an employee, and he's since then become a rock star in his very narrowly defined niche area. He's keynoting at all sorts of conferences and just having a great time. So a lot of it is figuring out that passion. And sometimes it's not just a step-by-step journey. You realize that there's a different direction somewhere in the middle.
Well, John, I mean, we've talked about, I guess, so far, making an assumption that these are people who have been in the workforce for a while. But what about these new graduates that come across? Do you get any young clients who kind of just trying to look for their first job, or what advice would you give them? They just graduated, about to graduate. What advice would you give the young ones out there?
Well, the very first job that I landed, I know that the only reason I got seriously considered was because the night before I went for the interview, my parents were having a cocktail party, and an old friend of the family said, "Oh, you're going to interview at Equitable. Let me write to my old friend Carl Davies." And so the next day I went in for the interview. I wasn't seriously considered, but 2 days later I get a call back from them saying, "Can you come back in before you leave for California, because we really want to talk to you again." And I know that only happened because of that letter. So the most important thing they can do is really build that network. And your alumni network is a great place to start. I was working with someone who he didn't have the best grades in college. He wasn't making great strides in his search, and his father said, "Can you help him out?" So he wanted to be a scientist, or work in a lab, but his science credentials weren't as strong as they should be given his major. We started reaching out to his alumni network. I showed him how to do that, what to say, how to build this connection. The very first person he talked to was the president of a biotech up in Boston, who said, "Hey, if you want to come up, I will show you all around. I'll get you hooked up with our head of HR, who will give you a tour of the facilities." That sort of thing is worth its weight in gold. Yeah. Within a couple months, he had landed in a lab doing exactly what he wanted to do. And since then, he's actually had 3 promotions in the first 4 years in the job.
So John, when you get those success stories, how do you feel inside afterwards? Like, does it bring you a lot of joy, or like, what makes you beat there?
Oh, it's the best thing. I remember one time, you might have been there. One of the business groups we were in, one woman got up and who I'd worked with her husband, and I don't reveal that someone's been my client
Yeah.
unless they specifically say that's okay. But she got up and she said to the group, "I just have to tell you what a difference John's work with my husband made, because our 10-year-old this morning, he said, 'Daddy's happy again.'" And
Wow.
that just, I mean, I just felt this thrill when I heard that.
Wow. Going through the generations. You got the really young ones and way up there, and keep on going. People work up over 100 these days. They still out there working, moving along. Keep you alive and going. It's the way to go. So John, thank you for being a great guest. Again, we can put all the contact information for John West Hadley. Now, where does the West come from? What is that? Is that a real West name, or you were out West and decided to pop that in?
It's a family name. My grandfather was John Tunnel West Jr., and I was named after him. So I've always signed everything John West Hadley, because I just like the feel of that. So that's one way it also distinguishes me, because John Hadley it's not a common name, but it's common enough that if you just search on that, you'll get all sorts of people. But if you put the West in, I'm the only one.
Well, like I have the dot period after my name. I put that in there before .coms were around and stuff. So I have the dot, and of course, casual conversations with a Z. So, kind of put you, remember a little bit more. And so regards to that, so was this conversation casual enough? How did you feel about this conversation today?
Oh, I enjoyed it. And I like the fact that you are wearing your cashmere jacket.
Oh, good one. Good one. Very good one. Thanks a lot. We put all the contact information, all the links to the newsletter, everything will be right below the video if you're watching it on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever we're going to continue posting these great. And John, always keep having those casual conversations with anyone else you like, not just me, all right? I give you full permission to do that, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon.